Welcome to week 1 of Soul Dog Medicine Healing. I'm Alicia Evans. My clients lovingly refer to me as the animal healer because what I did was I actually invented a product called Walk in Sync. So I've taught over 17,000 people and their animals to heal very easily and effortlessly. But through that journey of working with Walk in Sync, I also was shown by the dogs how much of a healing was actually taking place on both sides of the leash. So before I started my work as a holistic dog trainer, I was an animal communicator. And it's a incredible space because it's not a place that you can really come to where you're like, well, I know what the answer is. I just had to keep showing up. And as I kept showing up, the animals continued to show me what was the truth. And at a certain point during my animal communication work, the animals were like, fantastic. Now you have to talk to my human because they're having an issue and you know how to share it with them so that they can actually shift their perspective. And I will say this was not something I was comfortable with at first. As a matter of fact, the first time when an animal said, now you have to speak with my human about their side of the leash, I kind of wanted to throw up. It was like, but this is not what this is about. This is about you. This is not about them. And they said, it's never always about us. And so that started me really understanding on a much deeper level this healing piece that actually can take place on both sides of the relationship. Because oftentimes behaviors or even sometimes health issues that are happening with our dogs actually sometimes could really be mirroring what's going on with us. And what I really started to see was as I started focusing my trainings on addressing both sides of the leash, like knowing that perfect timing, that when something was coming up that was stressful, and being able to ask a few very particular questions, my clients' eyes would just kind of pop open because in that moment, they were being so triggered by something from their past that when the dog showed me, start asking this set of questions, then all of a sudden, the humans actually realized what that trigger was. And as soon as they recognized it, and as soon as they were able to breathe and release it, the dog's behaviors would change in anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute without actually having to behaviorally change the dog's behavior. So I landed up really continuing to follow this path and this passion of knowing the inner language of dogs because they started showing it to me as an animal communicator. And it's very different than what's taught from the behavioral sciences because this is the actual energy that they use in training. And then they showed me to ask their people questions, which would help the people heal. And then they taught me how to teach the people to breathe and how to get the humans to understand the body language on their side of the leash. And all of a sudden, miracles started happening. So as I followed this path, I have created a pioneering niche called Canine Facilitated Personal Growth. And just like you might be familiar with people working with equines and horses to facilitate their growth, well, dogs live with us. Dog's the only word that's spelled backwards is God. So I said, there's something more that really needs to start to be addressed with the part that the dogs are actually teaching their humans. Because if you really think about it, when we talk about enlightened masters, they're completely unconditional. They don't speak, so they have no judgment on us. They're filled with compassion, and they love us no matter what. They're always filled with unconditional love. So Soul Dog Medicine Healing really came from an awareness of the spiritual training that the dogs are actually taking their humans through. And now, not every dog is a soul dog. I have 2 dogs. I knew the second one was coming to me. I kept hearing it for weeks and weeks and weeks, like that. I kept hearing like Chihuahua, and then I kept hearing healer, and then I kept hearing res dog, and I'm like, Chihuahua, healer, res dog. And one day as I'm driving home from the wolf sanctuary in New Mexico, who comes running up the road but a Chihuahua, healer, res dog? So I was like, wow, okay. Now, we are meant to be together, but I recognize, like, he's not my soul dog, but I know that he needed to be with us. Now, my white female, she's a soul dog. She's been teaching me so many incredible lessons from the perspective of a wolf female, because she has wolf in her, and she is just so clear. And I wanted to learn authentically from the dogs. Well, what is your actual language? I mean, the humans keep saying it's treats, and I don't know anywhere in nature where, you know, dogs would give other dogs treats. So, but you guys are phenomenal at being able to train and being a family. So how does that really work? So soul dog medicine healing is really the evolution of 22 years of my work and my insights from the inside of the dogs, and just kind of taking canine facilitated personal training and bringing it into that next space that we can really start to learn to hear the messages from our soul dogs. And just with how things are on the planet right now, it's very, very important that we really start listening to our own souls. And so these amazing nonverbal enlightened gurus live with us, and they said, please teach a course. So I said, absolutely. So welcome. Welcome. So one of the key characteristics that I learned, you know, what qualifies a dog as a soul dog, right? And I have seen over many years of communication, just like there's all different types of people, there's all different types of dogs. You have dogs that are old souls that have been here before. You have dogs that are young souls that have never been here before. And you've got all kinds of in between. And there's no question we have an unbelievably unconditional relationship with our dogs. But there are certain dogs that when you look in their eyes, it's almost like you have to stop yourself for a second, because you're like, I know someone is in there. And I know as a human, I'm supposed to just, you know, no, it's a dog. But I know when that being looks back in my eyes, there is a brilliant soul in there that's reflecting something back to me. And most of the time what people usually say is, I wish I could hear what you were saying. I wish I knew what you have to say. Well, we're going to decode that over the next 7 weeks so that you really can relax into knowing that you know that humans aren't always the most intelligent species, that oftentimes our dogs, like, we know they have more to share with us. And really, it's going to be a journey that's going to help you reconnect with your instincts and your truth, to help you feel really, really comfortable with God, even though this is weird and it's my dog and I know that it's not supposed to be this way, I'm good with this. Like, we now are communicating and connecting, and this is fantastic. And it's also really made to help you understand the deeper wisdom that your dog is trying to share. Because believe it or not, they actually have an awareness of what makes us happy. They see, just like we look in there and we go, God, there's something much more than a dog in there. They see the same thing reflected back to us. And so the greatest gift that we can give them is literally hearing the wisdom of their soul to our soul, so we can be living the lives that we were truly meant to live, that's in alignment with the truth of who we really are, not who we thought we should be. So one of the ways that I have found to be probably one of the most powerful connecting tools, because everybody uses it. It doesn't matter what race, what color, religion, age, where you live on the planet, it does not matter. Our breath is really the one thing that connects us all. And a lot of the times we take our breath for granted. You know, we breathe, it's what we do. We're not really paying attention to the quality of it or where it's coming from. Now, as babies, most of us start out with a pretty soft belly, and we're breathing into our parasympathetic nervous systems, and, you know, life is pretty good. But oftentimes as kids, we will experience some kind of trauma. Could be a physical trauma, we slipped and fell, we fell off our bike, things like that. We can also experience emotional traumas and psychological traumas, and we can experience spiritual traumas, and the dogs can go through the same exact things. What happens when we experience a trauma often is the first thing that will happen is, because of the fear of the unknown, we literally hold our breath. And then we'll breathe, because it's not our time to go. But when we hold our breath, we pull our normal breathing sequence up into our chest. And when that happens, we're breathing more from our sympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system is all about fight or flight. You know, it's like freeze, run, or fight. And when we stay in that state for a long time, it's challenging because we don't realize after a while kind of how much it frays our nervous system. So I'm just going to explain a little bit about the breath so that you understand. I'm teaching this from a very practical level. It's very pragmatic. It's very scientific. And it is also the one thing that, number one, animates all of us, right? Because it's the first thing within 2 minutes. If you don't have your breath, you can't be on this planet. It is literally just the way the physics of things work. The other part of it is the awareness of what's actually happening. So when we breathe in oxygen. When we exhale carbon dioxide. We take in oxygen from the trees. We exhale carbon dioxide to the trees. When our system was literally designed to breathe much more from the belly as a natural state. Obviously, you know, if you're out exercising and you're really like pounding it, you will probably start breathing a little more from the chest. But if we've experienced any kind of trauma in the past, it's really important that we actually reset our breath. Because when we're breathing and relaxed from our belly, what happens is it sends out natural signals, okay? And the animals, especially dogs, are much more clear about how we're actually feeling inside of our bodies, not what we're saying. Because honestly, and I've done this a million times, how many times you're like uncomfortable inside and somebody's like, "How are you?" And you're like, "I'm fine." You know, "I'm good, I'm fine." But it's like, we're not. We can trick our bodies. We can say different things and mean different things. But a dog is literally going to read the actual truth, not of what comes out of your mouth, but literally how your energy feels. And this is why a lot of the times, you know, if you ever had to bring your dog to the vet, or your dog was upset about something and you're like, "You're fine, you're fine." And when I ask my clients, I'm like, "You okay?" They're like, "No." I said, "So then stop telling the dog they're fine." Because the reason that they know they're fine is if you're really okay. So let's switch your breathing. And as soon as they drop into their breath and they're like, okay, you can see immediately the dog corresponds, because we really are dealing with things on the energy level. And the breath really is the biggest basis for our energy. It literally can create health or illness in our body. It can give us energy or sap our energy. And it is the number one thing that dogs are actually going to read about us to determine whether they trust us or not. And it is going to be the number one thing that when we're relaxed, that's actually what's going to open these other awarenesses so that we can communicate in the energy language that dogs communicate. And we can also hold that space for longer and longer periods of time. And it's actually a really beautiful, peaceful space that we can walk around in and create a flow state around. So one of the things that our soul dogs actually do for a lot of us, one of the main things that makes dogs such incredible medicine healers and gurus, they're in the present moment. Less there was abuse or but really they pretty much stick to the present moment. Our breathing is literally what is going to determine whether we're in the present moment or not. And that's why we start here. Because the more that we can be in the present moment in our body, then we can continue to be in the present moment with our dogs and really flow with and open up that energy field to really entering a much bigger space of understanding who our dogs are and also what they're teaching us. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And to me, it's fascinating because especially as a dog trainer, an animal communicator, and an energy healer, it's like, I didn't read this in any book. Nobody talks about this.
No.
And yet, this is truly the foundation. If you want to do anything with an animal, you just start with your breath. It literally is that. I mean, we always move as humans. We move into like the control piece, or I've got to. But if you can just go with the breath, that is actually what establishes the field that you guys are going to communicate and connect in. Versus when we go at something and we do it, we literally shut down so much of the energy field and we're not communicating the way we were actually even designed to communicate. So for the dogs too, it's just sort of confusing. And then once we enter into this space through expanding our breath, everything is so much easier. People look at my dogs and they're like, how do you, and it's like, it's not that they're the best behaved dogs, because they're not. And they don't always come exactly when they're called. But we're always in sync with each other. I know they're never running away. I know they're never going to take off on me. And I know that they're always coming back. And to have that level of comfort, like, okay, the energy goes up for a little while, but we haven't fully fallen out of sync with each other. We're like, now I'm like fearful and pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to do is we're going to start this session with some breathing, because I'm going to explain a lot, but I think it's really important also to feel this in your body, because this is really how you're going to be communicating with your dog.
Okay.
Okay. So just take one hand, put it on your belly, one hand, put it on your chest. And as you breathe in, just take a breath in and just tell me naturally, which hand goes up first, your chest or your stomach?
My chest.
Okay. So that just tells me it's like, okay, we've got fight or flight breathing. You're going to be a little more relegated to the head and the intellect. And it's completely fine. We're going to switch it. But it's also probably sapping some of your energy. So if you think about it just from the physical standpoint of the body, if the body is only going up into filling up into the chest, and we're not even hitting the stomach cavity, there's way more oxygen we could be getting into our bodies to nourish them and to also help energize them, right? Because if we're only breathing kind of up into our chest, we're not even allowing our digestive system to let that oxygen come in and really start to feel nourished. Because one of the things I don't think we think about as humans, we don't think of our breath as nourishment. Like, we kind of think about it as a necessity, But literally, oxygen is nourishment to the body. So we need it, right?
Right.
So this time, all we're going to do is take one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly. Just relax your jaw, release your tongue to the bottom of your mouth. And as you breathe in this time, breathe in through your nose. Let the air, just consciously bring the air down to your belly. And let your belly kind of expand out in front of you as you're breathing in. Because a lot of the times too, like I mentioned with if we have a trauma, we hold our breath and then we kind of cut off from our belly. And our belly usually carries a tension in it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I wanted to share something very interesting that I became aware of with Chinese medicine. And then the dog started showing me about why it's so important to connect with our belly. The primary brain of our body actually sits in our gut. It does not sit in our head.
Right.
Now, when we are connected to our gut, those connecting receptors go out into the world, and it's kind of like, did you ever have an experience where you felt something before it was going to happen, or you just knew, but you didn't know why you knew?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is actually your gut brain. That's your instincts. Picking up, it's almost like, satellite dishes, right? There's these receptors in our belly, and we're kind of always picking up information. Sometimes we get that information right away, and we're like, God, I feel like something's going to happen. I know this is going to happen. Other times we aren't listening to the receptors, and we're kind of like, I knew that didn't feel right.
Yeah.
Right? Because we kind of went from our head. So think about the way that dogs function. They really function from a very instinctual place, right?
Mm-hmm.
They follow their nose, which is connected to their gut, and so they're constantly taking in all the information. It's almost like receiving the raw data.
Yeah.
And then what was supposed to happen was that raw data actually goes up to the brain. And then the brain says, oh, that's what you want to do? Great. I know how to construct that.
Mm-hmm.
But the actual brain wasn't really made to take in the raw data. So we're taking in a lot of information intellectually, but the problem is it's not really fully connected. And then we're trying to bring it down.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of our guts are inflamed and challenged, because we were supposed to receive the gut information, then it goes to the brain. Now we're trying to do it in the reverse. The reason why I teach this breathing is because when we get back into that natural state of breathing, almost instantaneously, our dogs go, you get it now? Like you're there? They can feel it immediately because we get calmer. So as you're breathing in through your nose and breathing down into your belly, letting your belly expand in front of you, when you exhale, you're going to exhale through your nose as well. Simply send your belly towards your low back.
Okay.
And as your belly goes towards your low back, it almost feels like you're doing a gentle sit-up. Your ribs gently knit together, your chest softens and relaxes, and the air comes out of your nose. So we're going to inhale into the belly. Much better. Inhale, belly, ribs, chest. Now, instead of your chest wanting to push the air back down, tell your belly, nope, you need to go towards my back and push the air back out. Breathing in, fill up your belly, your ribs, and your chest. And as you exhale, send your belly towards your back. Much better. Much better. Because as you do that and use the muscles gently, you're actually pushing the carbon dioxide that was kind of sitting in your belly.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you breathe from your chest, you, instead of pushing the air back up when you exhale, you actually push the air back down in your system. A lot of the times, often why men, as they get older, they have that one point and then all of a sudden the belly goes out.
Yep.
They're not using muscles, and all that carbon dioxide is literally building up in their bellies. and then they feel uncomfortable and it's hard for them to walk. But if they would just switch it to starting to utilize their stomach muscles to push that air back out, it'd be much easier.
So do you
So let's
breathe
do it again.
on a regular basis? Or you do?
Yeah, I mean, so one of the things in my background is I've been studying Qigong for the last 23 years.
Mm-hmm.
And Qigong is very, very interesting because it's like you just start doing movements and then literally without you realizing it, your breath and your movement gets so synchronized, and you just start realizing that the breath is not something separate.
Okay.
It's actually what actually moves the whole system.
Okay.
So without having to take somebody through 22 years of Qigong, I kind of distilled this down, and it was like, oh, so this is actually Qi breath.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is as we learn to just practice it on a daily basis, and I think the dogs are brilliant because they're like, teach our people this, and they have to walk us 3 to 4 times a day. So now they're going to be practicing this on their walk 3 to 4 times a day, versus if you did yoga, you're going to do yoga once a day or a couple times a week.
Mm-hmm.
But now your dog is like, no, this is what I want you to practice every time we go out for a walk.
Okay.
So then what happens is it starts to kind of kick over and become our natural default once again.
Okay.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So let's practice that breathing a little bit more. Okay. And you can close your eyes with it. What I really want you to start to feel is that we're going to try to take the inhale and think about making a circle. Okay. So the inhale is half your circle, and your exhale is the other half. And in order for a circle to be a circle, they just have to match each other.
Okay.
Okay. So when they match each other, we're taking just as much oxygen in as we're exhaling carbon dioxide. And then I'm going to just let you notice what you feel as your breath starts to become more balanced in your system.
My shoulders relax.
Yeah. And keep taking those breaths. Let's just do the breathing for a couple of minutes here. And it's just really what happens is the thoughts might just totally relax, and you might just all of a sudden find yourself just focusing on being fully present with your inhale and your exhale. And your body might start feeling deeper and deeper sense of relaxation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could feel a whole calming.
Yes. So that's actually the place where we're authentic. That's the place of authenticity. Like, we literally have to feel our body to authentically be in our body. And when we're in that state, that's the easiest place to commune, not just communicate, because communicate sometimes still is on an intellectual level. But when we're communing and that belly is relaxed and that gut brain is just, doing what it does naturally, which is just receiving information and bringing awarenesses to the mind, it's the easiest state to really communicate from, because it's our truth. And the dogs read it immediately. Like, if I want a dog to relax, I get the person breathing. As soon as the person's breathing, I don't have to say anything to the dog.
That's
because
awesome.
It's so cool. What's been really cool too, okay, I know typically with science we're supposed to do controlled studies and it's supposed to be in a neat little box, but when you can do something and you can do it no matter what dog, no matter what human, no matter what condition, no matter what's happening, to me, that's the natural science.
You don't need
It's
a
like
study.
if something works, no, it's going to work everywhere. And
Right.
there's no list of side effects,
No.
you know? So keeping coming back to the breathing, and even while you're talking, Marilyn, see if you can be aware that when you speak in alignment with your breath. What I used to do is I'd have someone down, and a girlfriend of mine in New York, she said, can you slow down and make sure your breath matches your words? And I was like, all right, I'm not an Italian, so I'm not speaking with my hands, but it was just like, oh my God, how do I even do that? But when I started doing it, I was like, wow. Like,
And how do you do that? Is it the pace you're talking about, or help me understand that a little more?
Okay, so start from here. So start, like, get into the breathing. Okay, like really feel, and this is the thing that you're gonna massively practice this week for homework, is that like even before you go out to walk your dog,
Yep.
I want you to sit for a minute and I want you to just get into this breathing. So before you guys even go out,
Okay.
I want this to become the default way.
Okay.
This is what you rely on. Like, oh, when we go outside, we're calm and relaxed, right? What usually happens with dogs at the door? People are like, okay, hold still, right? So everybody's sort of like not grounded before they even go outside. Right? And then people wonder, like, oh my God, why did my dog attack? Why is this behavior? Because the truth is, mama dogs always set the tone of the energy. As humans, we don't talk a lot about energy, so we always think we're at the oh God, why is my mind blanking? We always think we're not having any control over it. And it's like, yeah, but if you just practice this breathing, what starts to happen is instead of the energy being chaotic and you're at the mercy of it, you actually land up in training the energy to your frequency of calm and relaxed. And to me, that is the foundation of where you want to work with any dog. Because what dogs beautifully do is they entrain us to them, which is why, you know, when they hook up heart rate monitors to the dog and to the person, you know, people's heart rate totally changes in the field of dog.
Yep.
Yeah. They just connected with unconditional love.
Yeah.
So of course your heart rate changes, right? But what we don't realize is, like, dogs are masters of entraining us to their energy. We just didn't realize, oh my God, and they're trying to teach us how to do this.
Yeah, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep, I'm trying to take notes as you're talking. If you
No,
hear
that's
the
fine.
keyboard. I don't want to forget anything.
No, and this will be recorded too, so you can
Okay.
always listen to the recording. It's totally up to you. So let's get back into, we'll come out of the breathing, we'll go back into the breathing. We'll come out of the breathing, we'll go back into the breathing. So what I want it to become is so natural that literally in one breath, you can just shift.
Okay.
Like, oh yeah, that was the old way to breathe. This is how I breathe now.
Okay.
So just, you know, you can have your eyes open, you can have your eyes closed, but just remembering to breathe in and out through the belly. Because remember too, breathing comes from our autonomic nervous system. So in the beginning, like I said, as babies, we'll generally breathe and, you know, open our bellies and we haven't had too much trauma and everything's okay. Then we experience trauma. So then the body automatically rewires itself to breathe from the chest, except that's not the body's natural default.
Okay.
So doing this, basically we're retraining ourselves back to what our original software really is.
Oh, I like that.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And sometimes, it's hard because it's like, first of all, 95% of people don't even realize that they're breathing from their chest, right? Because we don't really talk about the breath that much when it's such, my God, we should really be exploring this because it's the one thing that if we don't have it in 2 minutes, we're not here. I think it's kind of important, you know?
Yeah.
So there's that piece of it that we don't really talk about it, but then there's also the piece of most people don't understand these components, like when injury or trauma happen and we get out of balance, that we can actually retrain and reset our breath. We just have to be conscious about it. Mm-hmm. So it would be just like going to the gym, right? If I want to lose 20 pounds, I want to get muscle, great. Well, nothing's going to happen if you don't go to the gym, and then nothing's going to happen if you don't use the equipment.
And quit eating.
Right? So this way, we're kind of like learning how to use our internal equipment again.
Good.
And the phenomenal thing is that as we get back into our gut, that is literally what opens up the most natural receptors for us to communicate naturally with and hear our animals and to hear their wisdom. Okay? Because we literally, I kind of laugh. I'm like, people always use the term, well, just fake it till you make it. And it's like, well, you can't fake it till you make it with the dog. You're it or you're not. But you can practice, and practice will get you doing it properly.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happened to the whole, I don't want to blame the millennials because I don't think it was a millennial thing. It started before then. But it's like, why would you want to fake anything? Get back to what's the truth. Simple.
No. You can't fake it like you said.
And animals won't believe. Yeah, go ahead. You tell me, go fake it till you make it with a horse. Go ahead. Go fake it till you make it with a dog. That dog's going to keep running away and you're going to be running down the street.
That's right.
So I'm just going to turn the light on, but I want you to just, we talked. Now bring that breathing back in and down. Make sure that you're opening your belly when you breathe in. And then make sure you're sending your belly towards your low back.
That's the part I forget.
That was your chest.
I can remember.
That's okay. Yeah.
I can remember.
Well, here's the thing. And also, too, just keep practicing it. Because if you practice it, it all of a sudden, like your body will pick up that muscle memory again. So belly opens, belly presses against the low back. That's much better. Belly opens, and belly presses against the low back. Yeah. So think about your belly actually like a pump. Okay. As it's opening, the valve is opening to let in oxygen. As you're exhaling, the valve is kind of gently closing and pressing the carbon dioxide back out. So inhale oxygen. And then what do you want to do with the carbon dioxide?
Pump it out.
Exactly.
Push it out.
And it's not forceful. It's not forceful. It's your belly will get to a point where it feels a little firm. So it's like you're constantly doing these mini sit-ups, but just gently, because those muscles don't have to be worked really intensely to work. They just have to work enough so that what's constantly happening is you're cleaning out your whole body. You're taking in fresh air. You're releasing what your body no longer needs. You're taking in fresh air. There you go. Right? And what starts to happen is a lot of the times when we're breathing from our chest, and because we're a very intellectual society, it's almost like part of us is here and part of us is way out there. Mm-hmm. And what the breathing does is it almost makes me feel like you're casting out a fishing line and you're reeling all the parts of you that went out there, you're literally reeling them all back in. And when they're reeled in and your body is breathing, all of a sudden you're just like, I can't believe how relaxed I just got.
Yeah, I'm thinking of all the positive implications this has, even beyond working with Max.
Yeah, well, so what a lot of what the dogs have shown me too, and why I teach what I teach, a lot of people are willing to do this work to have a deeper connection with their dog. Mm-hmm. But the truth is, the dogs are showing them how to have a deeper connection with themselves.
Yep.
So that they can deepen their relationship with the dogs. Mm-hmm. But just like you said, this has implications for every area of everybody's life, because the quality of who you show up as is who you can be in the world. Like, how many times, like, we're feeling crappy, we go to a job, we're trying to put on a brave face, right? So there's already an incongruence in the body, and it's just like, God, this is so exhausting.
Yep.
You know? And one of the reasons, too, why I decided to teach the course is because there's so many people that have gotten into the jobs that they think they're supposed to have because they weren't able to fully tap into their soul. Mm-hmm. And with the help of their dogs, with the help of their dogs, they reconnect with their soul. And when you're in alignment with what your soul's purpose is, you breathe easier. You feel better, but also, too, to get into alignment with your soul. Again, it's not an intellectual process. And that's why we go to the breathing to reconnect with the gut, because your soul kind of does reside in that space.
I have more, with doing the breathing while talking to you, I have more feeling. I noticed that just emotionally, I have more feeling than I did.
Yeah. Yes. Because how much time do we spend, we shut off our emotions. We're told not to be emotional, but the truth is there's a very big power in our emotions. As a matter of fact, they're so powerful that if we don't feel them and we don't express them, that's really the root of so many sicknesses and illnesses, is literally not feeling our feelings. Mm-hmm. Now, the key is to be able to feel our feelings, but not let our feelings, take us all over the place.
Right.
Which is why we open this breathing container back up. This way, we have a space to acknowledge what we're feeling.
Yeah.
Like, wow, body, like, thank you for telling me that. Thank you for informing me of that. Okay, so what do I really need? Mm-hmm. Right? You mentioned that you're going to be retiring, right? Yes. And probably like, oh my God, I did that for so long. I don't know what I want to do.
I don't.
Because part of it was you had to turn off your soul's knowing.
Yep.
To be able to go do that job.
Right.
And the beauty of this is now your dog is going to take you on a journey of, let's get into unconditionally loving our life. And let's choose from that space.
Yeah. I can't wait.
I know.
I know he came in here now for a reason.
Yeah. Which is amazing. And so sometimes too, and just be aware of this piece. So sometimes what'll happen is you'll be breathing, and then you might go, oh, well, I'm feeling something. And then you try to go up to your brain. It's almost like you stop breathing because you think the answer's in your brain instead of in your body. I just want you to be aware of that.
Okay.
Because oftentimes what happens is, and we'll go into this next week when we talk about the telepathy piece. Mm-hmm. Because with telepathy, you really want to be clear about the picture that you want. And as humans, we usually unconsciously flip that picture backwards. We say, I don't want this. Then we show the picture of what we don't want. It's like, it doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't.
So I want you to be aware that when you are feeling something, just check, am I going into my brain right now to find it, or can I just stay with my breathing? Can I just feel what it is?
Yep.
You know, sometimes it's tears that want to come out. Sometimes it's laughter. Sometimes it's anger. Sometimes it's whatever it is. But through this breathing, as you're feeling more now,
Yep.
just let yourself feel what it is. Just acknowledge your body like, oh, cool.
Yep.
I'm feeling happy. I'm feeling pissed. Because then your body doesn't have to compensate. It's almost like, okay, she just heard us.
Yep. I'll just observe it.
Yeah. Now, here's one of the things also, too, that happens with this breathing. Because it gets us back into our gut instinct, and because the way that a lot of us are raised in the school systems and programmed, we're actually taught not to trust our gut.
Yep.
Because a lot of the times what feels right in our gut, people go, well, that's not appropriate. That's not this. That's not that. But it's like, you already know the truth, but then you're kind of getting conditioned not to come from the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So what this process is also going to help you do, and what I highly encourage, is really feel into reconnecting with those instincts.
Okay.
Because our instincts, if we trust them, they can really guide our lives in a very positive way.
Okay.
And if we don't listen to them, how many times do we kick ourselves in the butt?
Yep.
Right?
True.
And our animals, they're generally tuned into their instincts.
Mm-hmm.
So when we breathe in this way and we get ourselves back into opening up that gut space and feeling our instincts,
Okay.
it's a much easier resonance.
Mm-hmm.
Because now we're not speaking to our dogs from an intellectual perspective and then trying to understand from an intellectual perspective. We're actually speaking gut to gut,
mm-hmm.
and knowing to knowing.
Mm-hmm.
That is where our power to like really kind of reclaim that that profound knowingness that we have.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it comes from.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. That's great.
Yeah, and as you're practicing, like start noticing during the week, just like, whoa, I'm like, are you just more aware of things like in your environment? And not that anything has to be bad. It's just like, wow, I didn't see those flowers before, or whoa, I didn't even notice that.
Mm-hmm.
Just start to realize, or, you might start having these premonitions, like 5 minutes before the phone rings, you're thinking about the person that's on the other end of the phone.
Yep.
Or you might be walking your dog and all of a sudden, for some reason, your body's like, you know what, we need to just go in the other direction.
Yeah.
Because your gut knows what's happening.
Yep.
And that's kind of challenging for us as humans, because supposedly our intellect is supposed to be supreme, but it's like, yeah, how's that working for us on the planet? And not working as well as we would hope, or it's not working as well as we would like to think.
That's right.
Yeah. And I really do feel like as times are shifting on the planet, the most important thing is to truly be able to tune into ourselves, know our own truth, and know the leader that we are choosing to be of our lives and how we're choosing that in the world, whether it's even, following another leader. Like, what does your gut tell you that actually really feels like, yeah, this is the correct choice?
Okay.
Okay. So just use it as an overall, like you use it at any time of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely practice it for a minute or so before you walk out the door.
I will.
I always am surprised, like in the second week, because a lot of people are like, that breathing thing, I thought it was the simplest thing in the world. I can't believe how many things I realized. It's like, because it is simple. But and it's just all it requires is just remembering to do it.
It's just remembering.
Yeah. And that's the practice piece, right? Because when you practice it, you're retraining your brain to remember it, to do it.
I'll put a reminder on the leash.
Or even in your bathroom or on your computer. Do you know what I'm saying? Just breathe.
Yeah.
Just breathe. Remember to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Because that one thing will literally start changing the quality of everything else in your life. And, you know, even with your dog.
Good.
Okay.
Great.
Do you have any questions about that? Is this making sense? Is there?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I have to practice it. And I'm going to have a lot of opportunity. I'm going to have a 3-day drive, driving to Cape Cod. So that'll give me a lot of time to practice.
Yep. And just remember too, as you're doing it, the goal is not to fall asleep.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So just practice right now. Let's take a breath in through our nose, filling up our bellies. And then the air just naturally expands also up into the ribs and up into the chest. And then when you exhale, send your belly towards your low back. Ribs knit together. Chest softens. Inhaling belly. Expanding into the ribs and the chest. Send the belly towards the low back. Ribs knit together. Chest softens and relaxes. Inhaling belly, ribs, chest, and exhale.
Turn that off.
And it's fine. And see how, like, even though if there's a disruption, so what? Just find a way to fall right back into that breathing. Because what's going to happen too, even when you're walking the dog, you know, you get into that rhythm with breathing and the dog gets excited because there's another dog. So we get a little off balance. Not a problem. Find your balance again with the breath.
Okay.
Right? So it's not a huge deal that we get off balance, right? We're not looking for a sterile environment. That's not what we want.
Yeah.
Because sterile environments don't really exist. But what we're looking for is, how do I allow myself to use my environment as my consistent training ground? So that no matter what situation I'm in, no matter where I am, no matter what's going on, I know how to come right back to center. And I tell you, like, it's not that it's a game to win, but literally the name of the game is, fine, you got off center, how quickly can you come back in? Like, life was not always made to be in a perfect balance. It's going to shift, it's going to do things, but it's a question of, and how quickly can you adapt and just come back to still being able to be okay, even when it's switching, right? Because what do we do most of the time? Something changes, right? We clench, and then we'll breathe, but we never really take a full breath, and we're never fully aware, like, wow, this is a much deeper space than I actually realized.
Right.
And the more that you practice it, you literally start mastering it. So then it becomes easier and easier and easier, regardless of what the environment, like, regardless of what the situation. And especially, I'd have to say, in an environment where something does jar you, if you just breathe it through your system, right? Why do things that jar us, why do they get stuck? Because we go like this, right? And we literally hold them in. But if we got back to our breath as soon as possible, they can't stick. And so, especially for your dog, and knowing that, you know, new environment for him, total new sets of behaviors and all that stuff, the more that you're able to hold that space with the breath, that's actually the beginning foundations of what leadership really is.
Okay.
right? Because what does he want? He's looking for, look, either you're in charge or I'm in charge.
Yeah.
Well, if I don't trust that you're in charge, I'm going to take charge even if my behavior isn't great.
Right.
But what he's always looking for is, are you the safe space or am I going to have to protect us?
Yeah.
Now, for a dog that, is well socialized and, all of that stuff, that's not a challenge. But with your dog, what I love that he's already teaching for you is that, okay, can you learn this breathing, please? Because that breathing will help me understand my world a little bit better of what actually is safe and what's not. Because if you don't do the breathing and he's reacting to something and you're already like, oh no, he's reacting. So like you're reacting to his reaction, and it just escalates up.
Yeah.
As soon as it's like, hey, you're reacting, but we're fine, we're good. He's like, really? Okay. And he gets out of it also.
Okay. What about in the situation where he's doing something that's dangerous to him, chasing a rabbit across the street or something? Is there?
Well, he should be on a leash. First and foremost, I would not have him, in any kind of open space off leash where that could happen.
Okay.
Till we know that we've laid the foundation and the groundwork for, hey, leave. Okay. So what I would say with that piece is you kind of want to start training about rabbits on leash, right? Because you still got them. So when you are, like, let's just say you notice the rabbit and he doesn't, right? Typical reaction from almost any dog parent, oh shit. Okay. They see the rabbit, they're like, damn, I don't know how, right? Now, what if we applied the breathing? You saw the rabbit and you're like, wow, there's a rabbit. Can you feel how much calm takes place in my body that, well, so what? There's a rabbit. Okay.
No big deal.
Exactly. And what do most people do? Okay, there's a rabbit. Oh my God, I got to wrap the leash around my hand because the dog's going to pull me. I'm afraid about getting pulled over. You happen to have a walk-in sink. So once you have that handle and it's clipped in front of him, you're already, because the chest is a natural collection point for the dog, you're already taking away the great majority of his propulsion power. Because if he can't push into those front legs, he can't. All he can do off those back legs is hop up, but he can't pull you. And one of the biggest challenges, really, for people when their dogs have, see squirrels or rabbits or whatever, they get scared because even a little dog can seriously, at a 6-foot leash, they can torque you.
Yeah, they can.
And so, and when our bodies sort of get torqued, we literally end up getting nervous.
Yeah.
Because the thought goes through our mind, what if I can't control the dog?
Right.
One of the things that will change dramatically using the walk-in sink with your breathing. So if you have your hand relaxed at your side and you see the rabbit and you're like, whatever, it's a rabbit, you keep breathing. When he sees it and he all of a sudden is like, oh my God, it's a rabbit. And you're really confident, yeah, it's a rabbit. So what?
Leave it. Let's go.
He'll press on the chest because you have the handle at your side and he cannot pull you off balance. Almost instantaneously, your body is going to have the sensation of like calm and relaxed because you're not going to get pulled off your feet.
Yeah, because I'm in control.
Yeah, and then you can keep that breathing going, and he's going to press against the harness, he's like, she's not moving her feet. I can't get the rabbit. Well, rabbit, why aren't you moving the rat? And he's like, oh, we're not, okay, maybe the rabbit's not a big deal, right? And then he literally adjusts his energy and starts getting in sync with and entrains with your sense of, I don't know why you're making such a big deal. It's just a rabbit.
Okay.
And then he kind of starts to go, oh, it's just a rabbit.
Okay.
And it's amazing. Yeah, it's just amazing. And it's going to take a couple of times, especially too, because if he hasn't been walked a lot, like this dog probably has a lot of energy stored.
He does.
That he hasn't fully had a chance to like really let go.
Exactly.
So what's going to be really good about this is, and what I definitely recommend is we're having you do some retraining with him. You know, having do the sits, doing stays with him, doing come. Like if he's in your backyard, fine. If not, he needs to be in a confined area if you're going to take him off leash for right now.
Okay.
Right? Because we don't know that he totally, he might know, even if he knew come perfectly.
Yeah.
Honestly, as a trainer, anytime I have somebody adopt a dog that's not a puppy, that hasn't built the foundational piece with them, I have them go back to retraining because you guys have to build a solid energy connection and communication together.
Right, right. And that's what we're doing right now.
What he's helping, and what he's helping you also do is do it with a greater awareness, not just like, okay, this is the dog, I've got to get him trained, but you're like, wow, what things am I learning actually about how to lead him best? That's actually helping me also.
Yeah, it is.
That really is the relationship and the dynamic that goes on with a soul dog.
Okay.
Right? It's never just about that end of the leash.
Right.
Okay? So this is why here too, it's like you're as much of a participant in this training process.
Probably more.
Well, and while he has a certain body language, you know, that you can learn to read certain things, you also are going to learn the body language of what it is to stand in that authentic place of leadership. And leadership doesn't have to be dominant or aggressive. Leadership is just anchoring the energy to say, here's the boundary. And like I said, when he looks at that rabbit and you're calm and he's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then all of a sudden he starts to look at you and say, wow, okay, did you want something different from me? And you're like, yes, thank you for listening. And then you pat the outside of his rib cage with an open hand.
Yeah.
Just let him know that's a good boy. We don't chase rabbits.
Pat and praise.
Right? Yeah. And then think about like if the energy was, oh my God, he's got a rabbit. How much does your energy go up? How much does your picture flip? Because even though you don't want him to chase the rabbit, you're having a picture of him chasing the rabbit.
Yep.
And not realizing that your energy is feeding that picture.
Yep.
And then he's like, no problem. But if you're calm and relaxed and you just see the rabbit and he's not chasing the rabbit and he has your consistency and your clear energy to come back to, and then the pat and the praise.
Yep.
It's perfect. So, you know, I don't encourage people, it's like, don't stop the behavior. Just as he's going through it, just retrain. Oh, you might not have gotten that memo. Here's how we handle. Here's how we handle rabbit or squirrels or. You know what I'm saying?
Great. This is super. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And the other thing too. So the breathing, I just want you to keep practicing. That's literally your practice all week as soon as you remember. And then the other piece is if he does trigger you, okay, if something happens where you all of a sudden clearly feel like, ugh, ask yourself, hey,
what is that, Max? What is it?
I think he sees deer. If he triggers something, just stop and be like, wow, what is that feeling actually? What am I feeling? Okay? Hang on one sec. Sorry.
No problem. Wow, what a beautiful dog. He's
Oh,
gorgeous.
she's amazing.
She's
I mean,
amazing.
that's my soul dog. The
Oh,
other
she's
one, I'm like, dude, I love him, but I'm like, oh. So, so and as you look at the trigger, because because a lot of the times too, we don't realize we want to get back in control of their behavior so fast.
Yeah.
But literally just ask yourself, like if something comes up, literally ask, like, whoa, what is that? What was I feeling? And you don't have to do anything with it. Just acknowledge it and then just keep going.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
But I want you to start training that piece of it too, so that you can be really authentic about, whoa, I didn't even realize that, I felt scared, or, and then it's like, well, what did that trigger? It was like,
Here.
wow, it was like a feeling of I'm not in control. So we just want to be aware, because a lot of the times too, what the dogs will trigger with their behavior is something very subconscious with us, right? Because sometimes, like, when things happen with the dogs, like my little dog barking, right? It happens so fast, it startled me.
Yep.
But if I don't pay attention to, well, what was that? Why did I get so startled? The dogs have the ability to immediately pull us off balance.
He's listening to you.
Hi, buddy. Hi, handsome. You are so cute. You are such a good boy.
He's talking to you. Can you hear him?
Yeah. You are such a good boy, buddy. And we're so glad you're here. Thank you for taking this course with us. Thank you for sharing your soul medicine. You smart boy.
You really?
He's like, I am a smart boy. I'm a smart boy. Aww. You are such a good boy, buddy. We're so glad you're here. Okay, so this, like when he gives that kind of affection and attention,
yep,
with the calm breathing, I would actually just pat him on his side and be like, good boy, I love that. Because even though it's a totally automatic behavior and you didn't ask for it, I always say, praise the things you like that your dog is doing. Like that's just a cool thing. Like when he comes over and he tunes in and he puts his head on your lap and he's like, hey, I'm here, I'm present. Aw, thank you so much for your presence.
Yeah, he knows. Don't you?
You are so.
You know. He knows what we're doing here.
Yeah.
He's really,
and that's what I love about it, because to tell you the truth, once your dog knows how to sit and stay and lay down and come, now if you're going to do agility, if you're going to do tricks, okay, that's fine. But in terms of basic relationship with your dog, it's you've already got the behaviors. So now it's like, wow, well, what's the depth of the relationship?
Right. That's why I signed up for this course. It's like there's so much more to him. I mean, he's so tuned in. Yet we still sitting here looking at you.
Hi, buddy.
Still watching.
Well, and it's interesting because I had wondered how animals, look, we're on Zoom and they can hear voices and stuff like that. But I really kind of wondered, like, wow, can we entrain the energy, even if we're at a distance? And I watched a friend of mine who runs some classes where she does courses, but her horses are there. The horse that wants to show up that day shows up and they connect with us. And I was so blown away because I thought, how is she going to do this? I was so blown away by the energy that actually was able to come through the internet. And I was like, this is really cool, because I know that it's not that necessarily, I don't know, I cannot physically verify if he can see me. But I know that he can feel the energy and he can feel like he's part of this, and he knows that he feels invited to this, and that he's as much of a participant in this as you.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. And I know he sees you just because he watches TV, so I know he sees you. It's crazy.
Aww. So here, as you guys are sitting here and talking, can you pop back into your breathing just from
Oh,
right
yeah.
here? And you don't have to like not be touching him. You can still pet him. You can still be doing things, right? Because again, with the breathing, I want to teach the technique of how I want you to do it, but then I don't want it to become sterile, like you have to sit on a meditation cushion for 15 minutes and don't get up. I
Right.
just want you getting back to the mechanics of the breathing and then feeling like, yeah, I can breathe like this and I can pet my dog, or if I need to pick up the phone, I can.
Mm-hmm.
But that flow is getting reestablished and it's weaving its way into no matter what you're doing. Right? Because first place, if we're going to connect with our soul dog, first place we have to connect is with our soul.
Yeah.
Right? Otherwise, we're going to be doing things from an intellectualized level. And dogs are pretty cool. They'll go with us on it. But they're also like, can we go deeper?
Yeah. I'm bored with this.
Right? But here's what happens is at this level and with this breathing, those receptors that I talked about that are like those little satellite dishes in your gut.
Yeah.
You all of a sudden start feeling more because you've opened those back up. The interesting thing is neuroscience puts so much emphasis on the brain. The brain can't feel.
No.
The brain can interpret what the body is feeling, but the brain itself cannot feel.
Right.
Right? So how can the brain itself navigate anything if our feelings teach us what to go towards and what not to go towards, right? Like hot stove, it's hot, okay, back away.
Mm-hmm.
If we're up here and we're not feeling, this is where accidents happen. This is where things happen because we're trusting something that is not able to actually feel. It can rationalize things. But that's why a lot of the times people get confused too, because in your rationalization, you're not literally feeling like what feels right. When you and your dog are together and you're on a walk, all of a sudden, you're just going to have this feeling when you guys get into stride with each other and you get in sync and you get in flow. You're just going to be like, I can't even describe it. It just felt so right.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not that there's a right answer or a wrong answer. It's just that it felt like we were in such right relationship with each other that everything just flowed.
Yeah.
That's why we start with that breathing, because in order to be able to access what you want to access, it's just easier to access it on the most authentic level, and that really is from the breath.
I'm going to have to figure out a way to remind myself to practice.
Yeah, just what's going to happen is at first you're going to forget, and then you're going to be like, oh yeah, that breathing.
Yeah.
And then and then it's like, oh, right, breath.
Yeah.
So literally to start with, leaving yourself notes in different places is great.
Right.
But if you just do it for a couple of days and you do it a couple times a day, all of a sudden you're just going to catch yourself, because what's going to start to happen is breathing through your belly is actually going to feel better. And your body is going to start to go, oh, we're not breathing right. And it's going to switch things.
Good.
Yeah, that's what we want to happen. That's why we're practicing, because we want to get it back to a fluid state.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Awesome.
21 days to learn a new habit.
Right? But the interesting thing though is, I mean, I've always found, like, when I just made a decision of doing it, I don't have to think about it a lot. I just do it. You know? So with this, if you just say, oh my God, A, it makes so much sense to me. B, it feels so much better. like, this is just my choice, like, this is my intention and this is my commitment,
Yeah.
then all of a sudden it's becoming a lot easier. Like when people say, oh, I want to lose 30 pounds and I have to diet. Well, if you felt into, God, it would feel so much better being 30 pounds later, like just for my body, it would feel so good eating foods that don't disturb my stomach.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, it's not like I'm doing this to lose 30 pounds. It's like I'm doing this because it just feels better.
Yeah.
And then it's not so much of a struggle.
Right.
Like you're not being deprived. You're actually making a choice that works for you.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, it's great.
Awesome.
I'm excited.
I'm excited for you, and I'm, thank you for taking this journey with me.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions, any thoughts, any comments?
No, you answered all of them. I just have to practice now.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I would say too is even when we get off the computer, even if you just do it for like 2 or 3 or 4 minutes,
Yep.
because here's what happens too. When we practice, it literally is what changes our neurology, right? Why would you want to fake something till you make it? Because if you just come from the mindset of like, wow, I'm practicing this till it just becomes automatic,
Right.
and I perfect it.
Yeah.
You're being authentic with it.
Right.
Yeah. So just find that place with your body that's like, wow, what part of me has really, really been craving this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and what part of me is so grateful that I am doing this now? Because then all of a sudden it just becomes easier and it becomes more in alignment with yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh my God, it feels awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so and I would even let go too of choose to remember. I choose to remember.
Yep.
Not, I hope I don't forget.
No, that's right. That's negative.
Yeah. Well, it's not just that it's a negative or positive, but it's like, I choose not to forget.
Yeah.
Or I hope I don't forget. You're focused on the forgetting.
Right.
I'm choosing this because it feels great. You're focusing on feeling great.
Right. Exactly.
So I don't even want to get into like the dichotomies of positive and negatives. It's just one is going to make you feel better. Mm-hmm. One is going to be, I don't know if I can really do this. I mean, and so just choose the one that feels like it's pulling you forward.
Right.
Not the one or pushing you forward. Do you know what I mean? Rather than pulling you forward and having to struggle.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So we have the Facebook page available. If you have any questions or you have anything this week that you feel that you need to, hey, Alicia, I had a question about this.
Okay.
You can pop it into the Facebook page or shoot me an email.
Okay.
And we'll just take care of it.
That'd be great.
Okay. Homework this week is just practice this breathing as often as possible.
Okay.
When you practice it, it's not like I gotta go, run 5 miles. It's like whoa, I'm practicing letting my breath move through me in a new way.
Yeah,
and
it feels
if you
good.
It does. And it's at first like, first it's because we're having to change it.
Yeah.
And then it kind of starts falling into, oh my God, this is so much easier. I don't know what my mind was complaining about.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is, if there's any place where you come across where you get triggered, just ask yourself, wow, what am I actually feeling right now? And what belief do I have about that?
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
That's it.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
I wish you guys a fabulous week.
Thank you.
Okay. And we'll see you next week.
That's great. Thanks, Alicia. Appreciate it.
You're so welcome. Have a great afternoon, great evening.
I will. Bye-bye.
Bye.